Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. And we're talking the first half of this show about just avoiding some stress in this process of buying or selling a home. It's not easy. Some of us make it look easy. I'll pat my team on the back for that one because I have such an awesome group of people that help make me look good, and then as a result, help our clients feel good when they buy or sell a home with us. But in reality, there's a lot of moving parts when buying or selling real estate. And there's a lot of stress that can come out as a result of it if things are not properly planned for, laid out for you to understand so that you know what's going to happen before it happens. And that's what I really want to focus on for the bulk of this show. And so again, if you've been through this process recently and you have a story you want to share, you were buying a home or selling a home, or maybe you were doing both. You were selling and then buying, and something didn't quite go according to plan. Or there was something that you couldn't control that stressed you out. Maybe there's a story in there that we can have a conversation about that could be used as a learning opportunity for other people so they don't have to go through those same things that you did. Or maybe you're thinking about buying or selling, and you just have some questions about the process so that you don't have that kind of weight on your shoulders of, well, what happens if this? Or I don't know what happens in that scenario. Happy to talk through all of those things with you this morning. The number here in the studio is 843-556-1250. 843-556-1250. Now, if you want to reach out to me personally because you're thinking about buying or selling a home, would love the opportunity to speak with you off air, earn your business. As I mentioned, our team has been selling real estate for 13 years, top 1% of agents every year for the past decade in a row, over 1,000 homes sold in the Charleston area. So my number is 843-345-1273, 345-1273, or my website is listingsincharleston.com, listingsincharleston.com. Search the MLS, learn more about my team, how we market our properties, listen to all the radio shows we've had over the past 6 years or so. We've got like 300 videos on YouTube, by the way. If you guys didn't know that, just do the Brian Beatty team in your search bar. And we've got all kinds of stuff for you guys, not just about what we talk about on the radio show as well. So head over to that if you're interested. But let's continue our discussion now about starting the process of buying or selling real estate by interviewing your real estate agent. And so I've been doing some writing recently, and I've appeared in quite a few articles online on various topics real estate related. And one of them was some tips to provide first-time home buyers. You know, some of the things that they don't really think about. There is tons of information out there for buyers and sellers, first-time home buyers, first-time home sellers, luxury buyers, luxuries. I mean, it's all out there. But when I'm preparing for this show, or let me say it this way. In years past, when preparing for this show, I'd read a bunch of articles online, and I'd get other people's opinion, and then I'd kind of incorporate it into my own and use that for content on this program. And over time, as my level of competence has grown and my experience has grown, I'm now the one that seems to be providing the opinion for other people to formulate their opinion and perception of the market or the process. And that's pretty cool. I really do appreciate that. And thank you to those of you that listen to this show, and then, of course, hire our team to allow that to happen. That's really cool. And so thank you for that. But a lot of information out there I do not agree with, especially when it comes to how to prepare for this process. And you would think that, hey, there can't be that much variety and information out there. There really is. A lot of these articles that you read online, it seem like they're written for entertainment value, not for educational purposes. And they're written by people that are not in real estate. You know, there are screenwriters and just straight up bloggers that are now giving you advice on real estate matters. And I think that's a slippery slope. So anyways, if you're a first-time home buyer, I would just want to give you 3 tips here. And then if you're a seller, I want to give you some tips as well. But let's just talk about first-time home buyers as an example. And this applies, of course, to everybody, but those that have bought and sold a few times are pretty familiar with the process at this point. They know what works well for them, but maybe there's something you can take away from this. And again, if you have some questions, if you have been through this process and you've been stressed out by it, tell me what those things were, and let's have a discussion about that. My number here in the studio, 843-556-1250. So if you're a first-time home buyer, I said interview and select your agent first before going to view properties. Hiring a buyer agent doesn't cost you any money. Traditionally, a buyer agent's commission is paid by the seller. And, ask your friends, family, colleagues for a recommendation, but also do your own research on a bunch of different websites like Zillow or Realtor.com or any other reputable website to find agents with a large number of recent sales and 5-star reviews. Next, interview them. Your goal should be to interview a minimum of 2 agents, preferably 3. And you want to ask them questions like, what's unique about your approach to the home buying process? What is your process for identifying homes for sale that meet my search criteria? Do you always identify potential for sale by owners and off-market properties and coming soon properties or other shadow inventory, or are you just going to show me what's in the MLS? Do you have any preferred vendors or relationships that will help save me money and time throughout this process? Do you offer any guarantees? Why should I hire you over any other agent? If an agent hasn't figured that answer out yet, honestly, shame on that agent. If they haven't taken the time to figure out their 30-second elevator pitch for why somebody should hire them, and they don't have confidence in their own ability, that's tough. I think that's tough for a buyer or seller to then look at that agent and say, well, you know what? You don't know why you're good, but I'm going to go with you anyways. How many homes are they selling over the past 12 months? What can they tell you about the specific market you're interested in so that you have realistic expectations about the process, pricing, negotiations? How often do people actually negotiate in that area? Are closing costs a thing that sellers usually pay for? Can I throw in some furniture? Just what's the standard? And then what have you done recently? And what's working really well for you right now? Are sellers actually making repairs to their property? Or if I make them a strong competitive offer because I think somebody else is going to make a good offer, do I then have the ability to negotiate aggressively through that home inspection? Or am I just kind of locked into this price, and if the home inspection turns out to have a bunch of issues in it, then I'm kind of stuck. I'm either going to have to buy it and just deal with those issues or back out. You're just trying to get a sense for the overall environment that you're about to buy a home within and how your agent can help you do that based on previous experience. And then after you find your buyer agent and you get pre-approved for a mortgage, that's the next step. See, buyers usually find a house they like online, and then they select an agent. Whichever agent kind of answers the call when they submit their request for more information on a website, or they submit for a showing online, which is, in more cases than not, the listing agent. But a lot of these websites now are charging real estate agents to appear on websites like Zillow, as an example. The majority of agents let me say it this way: the majority of listings on Zillow are not exclusive listings. Meaning, as a buyer, when you go online and you submit your information to receive a call about a property or to schedule a showing, usually there are 4 agents that represent kind of that. There are 4 agents in which your information can potentially go to. One of them is the listing agent. 3 of them are buyer agents that are paying Zillow to appear on that list and receive leads from interested buyers like yourself that are inquiring about properties online. So basically, as a buyer, you have a 1 in 4 shot of actually speaking to the listing agent, the person that knows anything about that house, which from your perspective isn't necessarily a bad thing because you want an agent that's going to represent you. But as a listing agent, I'm one of the few agents in town, one of the few agents left that have exclusivity on my listings, meaning if somebody wants more information on one of my properties, there is no option to contact anybody else. They always go through me. The only reason I have that is because I've been paying Zillow such a stupid amount of money for such a stupid long period of time that I'm grandfathered into being the only agent that receives a buyer's contact information. So from a seller standpoint, if you're listening, that's a big deal, because when somebody inquires about your house, you want that buyer talking to the agent that knows the most about this house, right? Anyways, I don't want to get too sidetracked on that, but that's just an example of several different ways that we control the flow of information and increase the number of showings we have on our own listings to buyers that inquire about the property, because the information's coming to us. It's not being lost in a sea of buyer agents that we don't know and that don't know anything about your house. But anyways, so you're going to get pre-approved for a mortgage. There's a big difference between pre-qualification, pre-approval, and approval for a loan. Pre-qualification simply means a lender has run your credit to determine your credit score and the amount of your revolving debt in relation to the amount of money you tell that lender you make a year. The pre-qualification letter will say something like, subject to verification of income, assets, credit, so on and so forth. Basically, it doesn't mean you can get a mortgage, and it doesn't mean you can't get a mortgage. It just means the lender has reason to believe you may be able to get a mortgage. Pre-approval just means that, they've done all of the above, but they've also received your tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements. It packs a bigger punch than a pre-qualification letter, but it still hasn't gone through the underwriting process. And approval, as you might be able to guess, means that they've done all of the above and the lender has submitted all of your paperwork to underwriting. They've reviewed it internally, and they've issued approval for a mortgage. Basically, they've said, you can get a mortgage for this amount of a monthly payment. We just need to verify the taxes and the insurance, and the property has to appraise. But otherwise, you've got a mortgage. You just need to go find a property. So when you're making an offer, you want the seller to have an assurance that you can afford the property. And an approval letter is nearly as good as cash, because it shows a commitment from the lender to provide you with a mortgage, which is especially helpful if you're in a multiple offer situation. And so again, we're talking about the process of buying and selling real estate. Some of the things that stress people out, and I'm giving some tips right now to first-time home buyers, and we're going to talk a little bit later on about some tips that I can give some sellers to help them avoid stress in this process. So if you're listening and you're making some notes, or you're thinking about buying or selling a home, and you have some questions, maybe there's something that I've said that's sparked some interest, feel free to call into the studio. I'm taking calls live. I'm sitting right here ready for you to call, and there's no question too silly or too generic, and it doesn't even have to be about this particular topic. Just here to help. So if you have some questions, give me a call, 843-556-1250, 843-556-1250. So the last thing that I would say is that if you call a listing agent directly as a buyer, just understand that anything you say can and will be held against you. The listing agent represents the seller's best interests. But when you call them, understand that the information you provide will be relayed to the seller. They don't owe you any sort of confidentiality, so avoid answering questions that can be used against you in the course of negotiations. So like as an example, if the agent were to say, if you walk through the house and you like what you see, are you in a position to make an offer? The correct answer would be yes. The incorrect answer, which I hear so often, is because we obviously ask these questions when people inquire about our homes, is, we've sold our home in Charlotte and, we're staying in a hotel right now. It's costing us a small fortune. So yeah, as soon as we find the right house, we're going to make an immediate offer because we need to get out of here. We're looking for a quick closing. So in that scenario, the listing agent now knows that you might experience some sort of financial hardship with an extended closing. And so if an offer's made, you really like this listing, they could draw out negotiations. Or they could counter your offer by saying, look, the seller really wanted 60 days to close so that they have some time to pack and prepare for the move without feeling rushed. So if we do a 30-day closing, are you willing to agree to fill in the blank? Whatever those fill in the blank items are, just understand that they're designed to use your situation against you to favor the seller. They've got a one-up on you. Had you not given the listing agent that information in the first place, you might have won that particular portion of the overall negotiations. And I could go on and on and on about this, but those that are listening right now, I've got all kinds of different tips and tricks that I can tell you to help you save stress and time and energy and money throughout this process. But the best thing to do is to just call a real estate agent first and have them take you through the process. Answer your questions. Make sure that you're comfortable with what is going to happen before it happens. And if you get that warm and fuzzy feeling with your real estate agent that, hey, this guy can help me or this girl can help me with this process, and I trust them and I trust their competence, then hire them. Have them represent you, because there are only so many things they can do for you before you officially hire them. It's called the difference between being a customer and a client. So when you become a client, and it doesn't cost you anything to do that, by the way, then you get all sorts of benefits to working with a real estate agent that you would not have had otherwise. So when we come back, I'm going to talk about some tips and tricks that you can incorporate into the strategy of selling a house, and some great interview questions that you can ask. The number here in the studio, again, if you have any questions or you want to chime in, is 843-556-1250, 556-1250. Otherwise, stick around for more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Have a real estate question? Ask Brian Beatty. Send him an email, lowcountryhomesales@gmail.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show is on 1250 WTMA.